Hello, our dear viewers, and welcome to our show, Diet Myths. Today we'll be talking about maybe one of the oldest diets out there. It's called the Glycemic Index diet. Now, I'm sure you've heard many of the other diets refer to this one. Eat foods that are low in GI. Eat foods that have medium glycemic index in them. So I'm sure you're all wondering, what's this glycemic index about? So basically, it was a scale, and the scale ranges from 0 to 100. And that all depicts how much the carbohydrates you eat actually affect your blood sugar level. I want to take it back a step. So if you think of carbohydrates, in your body, once you eat them, they are all transformed into sugar. Carbohydrates include foods like rice, potatoes, and bread, and sweets, fruits, and juices. So all these foods, once you eat them, actually get turned into sugar. And what this glycemic index scale does is it measures how much each food affects or how much it increases your blood sugar level compared to the other. So they'll compare a slice of toast and sugar. They'll compare honey with a fruit. And then they'll put them all on the scale. And they'll label some foods as low GI, some as medium, and some as high. And so a lot of people believed if they just stick to consuming a low GI diet, then they can lose weight. Of course, these low GI diets are diets that contain mostly fiber. And obviously they'll make you feel full and you'll eat less of them. So there is some common sense to this, but it's not all there. We want you guys to stay tuned because we're going to continue talking about this GI diet, how it really does affect your digestion, and if there is some truth to it, and other factors that they haven't put into thought when they created the scale, because it's not all about the food. We also cook foods in different ways. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back, our dear viewers. Now we're going to take a closer look at this GI diet, what the scale is all about, and where these foods actually fall on the scale. Because you'll be surprised, some foods actually don't make sense.
GI, or the glycemic index, tells you how quickly carbohydrates are processed by the body. Now, carbohydrates include foods such as bread, pasta, rice, sugar, fruit, vegetables, and most snack foods. One of the body's main jobs is to break down these carbohydrates and turn them into glucose that travels through the bloodstream. The body then releases insulin so that it can convert the glucose into energy for your muscles. And that's a great thing. High GI foods break down quickly and cause a spike in glucose levels. This means a quick release of insulin that gives Tom a sudden burst of energy, what we sometimes think of as a sugar high. But it's short-lived. The energy burns up quickly and Tom's left with a blood glucose crash. He's sleeping through geometry once again. Worse, when insulin causes this crash, your body starts to worry that it's being starved. So you crave more carbohydrates. Tom will then grab another donut, which leads to another glucose spike, another quick burst of energy, the inevitable slump that follows, and more cravings. To add insult to injury, too much high GI food can break down into more glucose and energy than Tom's muscles can burn up. Insulin will then store this excess glucose as fat. But it doesn't end there. Over time, if you are predisposed, the overproduction of insulin can lead to insulin resistance, and the muscles begin to reject the glucose. The body then tries to compensate by releasing more insulin.
So, the scale basically, like we said, ranges from 0 to 100. Now, the number 0, of course, will cover the low GI foods, the foods that don't affect your blood sugar that much. 100 means that they really do affect your blood sugar level. So, any food that ranks between 70 or higher than 70, they are considered high glycemic index foods. Those usually include your white toast, your potatoes, of course baked, no oil, and other things like your juices. So you see that these are all simple sugars. These are foods you eat, and once you eat them, they contain no fiber, they contain no fat, and they'll quickly elevate your blood sugar levels. Now, anything ranging between the number 56 to 69 is considered a medium GI food. Now, these medium GI foods really vary. They have a lot of foods in them. They include some fruits, some vegetables, not a lot of fiber, and not a lot of fat in the food. Now, anything that's considered a low GI food is around 55 or lower. So if you think about it and use some common sense, you'll realize fiber is like a crust. Fiber and fat act in the same way, but of course fiber is way more beneficial for you. So what they do is they slow down the way your body breaks these carbohydrates. So once the sugar hits your blood, it hits it slowly and it doesn't raise it all at once. And that's what actually makes a low GI food. Of course, we use this method with diabetics because we don't want them to consume a food that will elevate their blood sugar levels right away. We want them to slow down the amount of sugar going into their blood. So you'll see it is a good way to incorporate into your lifestyle, but it might not be a weight loss tool. We want you guys to stay tuned because we're going to be talking about how this GI food and the GI scale actually affects you and your weight loss. Welcome back, our dear viewers. Now let's take a closer look at this GI scale. Will it really help you lose weight? Will you lose all the weight you've been wanting to lose? And is it really easy to follow? So like we said, they want you to consume low GI foods like peas, skim milk, so some fat in the foods but very minimal. And of course we're talking about those natural fats. Now another thing that they want you to do is eat food separately. Because if you think about it, the GI scale was made on separate food items. And how many of us have a piece of toast without some butter or without some jam on it or without even spreading some labna on it? So this GI theory doesn't really work unless you're consuming the food on its own. And like we said, foods like fats and fibers slow down your absorption of sugar. So sometimes baked goods like a cupcake could actually have a lower GI than a parsnip or any other vegetable, which doesn't make sense. So the only way for you to, incorporate this low GI diet but not take it overboard, because obviously you're not going to walk around life with a list that has all the GI foods so you can pick the low ones and eat them on their own. So one thing I want you to think about is how we can make any food item a low GI item. So if we take a piece of toast and we put some olive oil on it, which is a healthy fat, and we turn this white toast into a brown or a whole wheat toast, suddenly the GI drops. Now we knew that white GI or white toast had a high GI. So maybe we can drop it down to a medium or a low GI. So always think of adding healthy fats. Add olive oil, add avocado, add canola oil. Add all these healthy fats when you're cooking. Every once in a while, you can bake or you can roast your foods. Now fruits. If you think of fruits, you eat them on their own. If you peel them and you turn them into a juice, the GI automatically becomes high. Now when you take these fruits and you eat them whole, the GI immediately drops because we're eating them with the fiber. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to always try to incorporate fiber with your food and fat with your food. So looking back at that example of the toast, whole wheat is high in fiber. Olive oil is a healthy fat that immediately lowered the GI. So it's harder, like we said, to walk around with a list, but you can always add these healthy fats, high fiber foods. Always choose the whole grains. Always choose the brown ones that are good for you. And this way you can lower the GI of foods and not worry about carrying a list. I really hope you enjoyed today's segment on GI foods and understand the GI scale a little bit better. And we look forward to seeing you guys soon. Enjoy your evening.